My dear sisters and brothers, anyone remembers the gospel of yesterday? What it's all about? Anyone remember? Usually people have very short memory. You know? We forgot the gospel very quickly. Yesterday we read about Mary Magdalene, right? Who met Jesus in the garden near the tomb. And today we read about the two disciples from Emmaus. When I prepared this reflection, I found that there are similarities and differences between these two Gospels. Mary Magdalene and the Emmaus disciples both saw the resurrected Jesus, but their experiences were different. Mary weeps or cries at the empty tomb in John chapter 20, verses 1 to 11. She thinks Jesus is a gardener as he approaches her. She doesn't know her master until he addresses her by name, Mary. After that, Jesus gives Mary a mission to tell that he will go to his Father and the disciples' father. What about the two disciples of Emmaus? Two disciples devastated by disappointment go to Emmaus, and in Luke chapter 24 verses 13 to 35. When Jesus joins them, their eyes are hindered from seeing him, like what Mary Magdalene experienced. She did not recognize Jesus. He interprets the scriptures, showing how the Messiah had to suffer. They only see him when he breaks bread at supper and Jesus disappears. So there is a similarities in the process of how the disciples and Mary Magdalene recognize the resurrected Jesus. The parallels are remarkable. In all stories, Jesus starts the conversation, but initially stays hidden. Recognition is not instantaneous. It happens gradually. Both groups have false beliefs. The disciples see a political liberator, while Mary anticipates a lifeless body. Through scripture teaching, explaining the prediction, and the personal revelation, calling Mary's name, Jesus gently corrects them without using force. He approaches them. He treats them kindly, gently, patiently, step by step, explaining to them. Additionally, both meetings result in a mission. Mary tells the apostles, and the two disciples quickly return to Jerusalem to spread the word. My dear sisters and brothers, the context and the process of revelation are the main distinction. Jesus makes himself known to Mary in a private conversation while she is by herself in a garden. Scripture and the breaking of bread, an obvious Eucharistic echo, reveal Jesus to the two as they walk and eat. The first one is private, the second one is a community. Our own spiritual journeys, my dear sisters and brothers, are reflected in this pattern. Our preconceived ideas of what Jesus ought to be, a problem solver, a miracle worker, or merely a moral teacher, often accompany us when we approach him. However, the resurrected Lord joins us in our sadness, uncertainty, and confusion. He gradually awakens our eyes through the Eucharist, Scripture, and prayer. Recognition comes from trust, patience, and the gift of God's initiative rather than just human understanding. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a young girl who experienced a very marvelous spiritual experience. And I tried to explain to her also about the difference between faith and knowledge. Faith is beyond knowledge and reason. Faith is a gift. And sometimes we approach faith only based on our intellectual ability. We will lose a lot of things. Lose the mysteries of God's love, God's gentleness, forgiveness, and mercy. The two disciples' experience is therefore genuinely our own. The story in the Gospel of Luke that we just heard is not about the past. It's about now and here. Not only now and here in this church, but now and here in our heart. This is about our faith in our hearts. We must pay close attention to Jesus' word and develop a faith-based perspective of Him, particularly when the bread is broken. We won't be able to experience Jesus' resurrection until our hearts are burning within us. My dear sisters and brothers, like the two disciples from Emmaus, experience the presence of Jesus in the breaking of bread. We, this morning, are given the very similar opportunity to see Jesus who breaks the bread on the altar. And by that, we see that Jesus is among us. We walk always with Him.